People have asked me quite a few times, how did I come up, or why did I come up with the idea of the Master Shield gutter system and the technology, the self-cleaning technology of Micromesh filtration. I think where it started was back in Lynchburg. I was a gutter contractor and vinyl cider, and I'd worked like a lot of guys, just day and night. I'd pushed myself so hard that I'd gotten to the point where I couldn't hold a hammer anymore. I would duct tape it in my hand. I just lost my grip. Not long afterward, a great young builder in Lynchburg approached me and he said, "Alex, could you invent a gutter guard that really works?" He had been recommending something for years, and it had kept failing on his new homes. The more I thought about it, I was so intrigued, because I didn't believe in gutter guards, and neither did the young builder that asked me. And as a farm boy growing up, you always had to figure out new stuff, like you're baling hay, the rain's coming, the tractor breaks, what you gonna do? You got to figure out a way to fix it. So I began grabbing all of the materials I could find and experiment with them. My thought was that if I could find a material that was solid on top, just looked solid as a rock, but was 100% water permeable or porous, that would be like the holy grail, the ultimate gutter guard. But at the time I didn't know I was only half right. So I started looking for materials that were solid, but took water, and they were very hard to find. I got a lot of textile samples from around the nation, played with those, played with different configurations, ways to bend them, do you put an inseam in them, just anything I could think of. And I played with sand and even lava rock, anything. As I was doing this, I thought maybe another good place to begin would be the patent office. I read every patent. The first one was in the late 1800s, I believe 1867. It was actually a birdhouse that covered a downspout opening. By 1920, you had already had reverse curves, louvers, screens, and the history of patents, there's over 450 gutter cover patents. There was like 7 or 8 technologies, all done before 1920, except gutter foam, which is 1973. And everything after them just became, how do you fasten this old technology to the home? Most gutter patents aren't about technology. They're about how you fasten old things to the house. After all of this testing and patent research, I thought I might have it. I might have the answer. I took a spongy material, almost like a scrubber pad or a Brillo pad, and it's in the patent language, it's called a non-woven extruded lofty fiber. Quite a title. Well, I took that little spongy stuff and surrounded it with a very, very fine screen, and it worked like crazy. I was so thrilled, but it only worked about 6 months. In my testing, slowly the oil leached out of the shingles and coated it, and it became waterproof. It's not, the water overshoot isn't because there's too much water for most products, it's because there's too much oil. Shingles are a fiber or a fabric that are dipped in asphalt. They leach out over reverse curves, over screens, over everything, and unless the holes are that big in the product, and in that case they let in all the debris, and there's some like that out there, they're going to waterproof. I tested all of these materials, every type of textile or screen I could get my hands on, every louvered product, anything that could direct water flow that had already been done. I put them in different combinations with each other. I bent them, I poked them, I repositioned them, just anything you could think of. And after doing all of that and reading every patent issued, I came to the conclusion that everyone else had come to. There's really nothing that truly works. If you define work meaning that a gutter guard will take all of the water all of the time and shed the debris all of the time, I don't know how you could do that. Then it hit me. It was like the eureka moment. As I was saying, I love to walk in the woods. And if you've ever taken your children camping and you've been in a tent when it's raining, now that tent, solid cloth, or so it seems, is shedding the water like crazy. But do this in a rainstorm. If you're in a tent, touch the underside of it and the water pours down that point of contact. I thought, this is it. I think we've got it. I think this is going to work. So I tried something different. I went to a lumber store and bought some dowel rods. They were flat on top, extended downward. I call them popsicle sticks. I built up this little prototype, stuck it in a gutter, did the water test, worked great. It was a home run. But now for the oil test. I took 30 weight car oil. I poured it over the top of my little prototype, just like syrup on a pancake, hit it with water, waited about 20 seconds, and oh my gosh, it was working. The oil was gone. It had washed through the screen. It was taking water like crazy. This was it. This was the grand slam. That became the heart of MasterShield. That became the heart of the self-cleaning technology of microfiltration. How could you say something self-cleaned itself and prove it? You just take a dense material, touch it on the underside, you create that strong siphoning action that cleans itself, and you're home. You're there. That's the heart of MasterShield. That's the heart of self-cleaning technology. That's what we brought to the world.